For 37 years, the Krellian Dominion had monitored the radio chatter from a small blue planet on the edge of the galaxy. The humans had been remarkably vocal, broadcasting everything from music to mathematics into the void. Then, one day, they simply stopped. Admiral Zenth Voris stood in the command center of the massive warship Eternal Conquest, studying the silent world below. His species had conquered 42 civilizations, and each had followed predictable patterns. They fought, they bargained, they begged. None had ever simply gone quiet. "Sensors detect no orbital activity," reported his science officer. "No communication signals, no defensive systems. The planet appears to have suffered some kind of technological collapse." Voris nodded with satisfaction. "Probably destroyed. Themselves with their primitive weapons. Standard cleanup protocol. We'll harvest whatever resources remain and establish a mining colony. 3 billion miles away, Captain Darius Reed floated in the cramped command module of the stealth vessel Whisper's Edge. His ship had been drifting in the outer system for 2 decades, powered down to nearly nothing, waiting. Around him, his crew of 12 monitored the alien fleet through passive sensors that wouldn't register on any scanner. "They're taking the bait," whispered Lieutenant Torres, her voice barely audible even in the silence of space. "Full invasion formation, heading for Earth orbit." Reed smiled grimly. Earth hadn't gone silent because of war or disaster. Earth had gone silent because it was time to stop talking and start listening. For 4 decades, humanity had been preparing for this moment, spreading throughout the solar system like seeds in cosmic wind. On the hidden side of Luna, Dr. Evelyn Cross watched through telescopes buried deep in ancient craters. Her lunar base had been operational for 50 years, disguised as a natural rock formation. Around her, banks of computers that had been dormant for decades began their silent startup sequences. "Krellian fleet is deploying landing craft," she reported through quantum-encrypted channels that the aliens couldn't detect. "They're heading for the major population centers just as predicted." The response came from a voice she hadn't heard in 2 years. "Acknowledged, Luna base. All deep sky stations report ready. The silence ends when the sky speaks." Admiral Voris watched his landing craft descend toward the blue world below. Each ship carried sensors capable of detecting any technology more advanced than fire. The readings were puzzling. They showed massive cities, but no energy signatures, no defensive systems, no spacecraft. "Perhaps they reverted to a primitive state," suggested his tactical officer. "Many species do when faced with extinction-level threats." "Then they'll make excellent slaves," Voris replied. "Begin atmospheric insertion." As the first Krellian shuttles pierced Earth's atmosphere, they passed through sensor nets that had been dormant for decades. Every movement was tracked by systems that appeared to be space debris. Ancient satellites that seemed dead suddenly came alive with purpose. Captain Reed opened a channel that hadn't been used in 20 years. "All stations, this is Deep Sky Command. Execute Protocol Lazarus. The sky is about to remember how to speak. Human." Throughout the solar system, objects that had masqueraded as asteroids for decades began to power their engines. Space stations hidden in the shadows of gas giants emerged from their cosmic camouflage. Ships that had been sleeping in the cold between worlds awakened to full power. Dr. Cross watched her screens as humanity's true presence revealed itself. "My God," she whispered. "We really did it. We actually colonized the entire system without them knowing." The Krellian sensors suddenly detected energy signatures appearing throughout the solar system. Admiral Voris stared in disbelief as his displays lit up with contacts that hadn't existed moments before. "Sir," his science officer stammered, "we're detecting multiple spacecraft emerging from everywhere, behind planets, in asteroid fields, in the outer system. How is this possible?" Voris felt the first chill of fear he'd experienced in 20 years of conquest. "How many ships?" I can't get an accurate count, sir. They're still appearing. Thousands. Tens of thousands." As the alien admiral watched in growing horror, the sky around Earth began to fill with human voices. Radio transmissions in dozens of languages flooded the communication bands. Ships that had been hidden for decades announced their presence. Space stations that had masqueraded as debris began broadcasting coordinates and battle readiness. The silence hadn't been surrender. It had been humanity holding its breath before the roar. The first Krellian landing craft touched down in what their sensors identified as New York City. Commander Kresh Valdoon expected to find ruins or perhaps primitive survivors scavenging among the bones of a dead civilization. Instead, he found something far more unsettling. The city was alive. Streets bustled with activity. Lights blazed. From towering buildings, and humans moved through their daily routines as if nothing had happened. They showed no fear, no panic, no acknowledgement that an alien invasion force had just landed in their midst. "This is impossible," Valdoon muttered, watching humans walk calmly past his armored transport. "Where are their military forces? Where are their defenses?" His communications officer looked equally bewildered. "Sir, we're detecting no military response whatsoever. It's as if they don't see us." 300 miles above Earth's surface, Engineer Nathan Price sat in the command center of Station Prometheus, a facility that had spent 40 years disguised as orbital debris. His fingers moved across controls that hadn't been active since his grandfather's generation. "All silent satellites coming online," he reported to the hidden network. 40 years of playing dead, and now it's time to wake up. Throughout Earth's orbit, objects that space agencies had written off as junk began to hum with power. Communication arrays that appeared destroyed suddenly oriented themselves toward specific targets. Weapon systems that officially didn't exist charged their energy cores. Admiral Voras watched his tactical displays with growing unease. The energy signatures appearing throughout the system defied explanation. Communications established contact with Landing Force Alpha. "Sir, I'm trying, but we're experiencing interference. Multiple sources are broadcasting on our frequencies." Interference from what? This system was dead. "Unknown, sir, the signals appear to be organized, like someone is actively jamming our communications." Pilot Sophia Grant had been waiting in the asteroid belt for 18 years. Her ship, the Hidden Talon, had been part of Operation Deep Cover since before she was born. Along with 300 other vessels, she had lived in the cold between worlds, maintaining radio silence while generations of humans prepared for this day. "All Ghost Squadron ships, this is Talon Leader," she broadcast on channels the Krellians couldn't monitor. "Begin Phase 2. Time to introduce ourselves." The asteroid field around Jupiter suddenly came alive with movement. Ships that had been indistinguishable from space rocks fired their engines and began accelerating toward the inner system. Each vessel had been perfectly camouflaged, living off minimal power while their crews waited in hibernation cycles. Commander Valdoon tried again to make contact with his command ship. "Admiral Voras, the humans are behaving strangely. They show no fear or surprise at our presence. Something is very wrong here." The response came through with static and interference. "All landing, experiencing communication, unknown sources jamming, return to ships immediately." "Say." "Again, Admiral, you're breaking up." "I said return to your ships. We're detecting massive forces throughout the..." This was a trap. Nathan Price smiled as he watched the Krellian communications network crumble under coordinated interference. 40 years of studying their technology really paid off, he muttered, adjusting the jamming frequencies. "They never imagined we'd been listening to their every transmission." On Earth's surface, the humans continued their daily routines because they had been preparing for this moment their entire lives. Every child born in the last 4 decades had grown up knowing this day would come. Every adult had trained for their role in humanity's greatest performance. Dr. Evelyn Cross activated the next phase from her lunar command center. "All outer system stations, begin broadcast protocol 7. Let them hear us." Suddenly, the void around Earth erupted with human voices. Ships hidden throughout the solar system began transmitting in perfect unison. Their messages coordinated to create a symphony of human presence that filled every communication frequency. "This is Titan Base to all Krellian forces. You are in human space. Mars Colony Station calling. Your invasion is unwelcome." Europa Research Facility broadcasting. Humanity claims this system. Asteroid Mining Platform 77. You picked the wrong species. Admiral Voras stared at his displays in horror as hundreds of human installations revealed themselves simultaneously. His science officer's voice trembled as he reported the impossible. Sir, we're detecting human colonies on Mars, Europa, Titan, and 17 asteroids. There are mining operations in the outer system and research stations throughout the gas giants. How long have they been there? That's impossible. Our long-range scans showed no signs of colonization. They've been hiding, sir. Everything was powered down, disguised, camouflaged. They made their entire solar system look empty while they spread throughout it. Sophia Grant's squadron emerged from the asteroid belt at maximum acceleration, their ships finally free to show their true capabilities. Krellian vessels, this is Commander Grant of the Human Deep Space Navy. You are surrounded and outgunned. Withdraw immediately. The response came from Admiral Voras himself. Human Commander, this system showed no signs of advanced civilization. Your species appeared to be extinct. That was the point, Admiral. We've been waiting for you to make exactly that mistake. Earth didn't go silent because we were weak. We went silent because we were ready. Throughout the solar system, humanity's true presence continued to reveal itself. Space elevators that had been disguised as atmospheric phenomena began operating at full capacity. Cities built inside asteroids powered up their lights. Generation ships that had been masquerading as comets changed course toward Earth. The sky was no longer empty void. The sky was speaking human, and its voice was everywhere. Commander Blake Morrison had been born on Ganymede 43 years ago, part of the first generation of humans who had never seen Earth's surface. His hidden colony had thrived in the shadows of Jupiter's largest moon, mining ice and building ships while maintaining perfect radio silence. Today, that silence would end forever. All Jupiter system installations, this is Morrison, he broadcast, on frequencies that had been dormant for decades. Operation Skyfall is now active. Begin full system reveal. Throughout Jupiter's moons, installations that had masqueraded as geological formations suddenly blazed with light. Io's volcanic activity had hidden massive foundries. Europa's ice sheets concealed submarine cities. Ganymede's craters housed shipyards that had been building vessels for 2 generations. Admiral Voras watched his tactical display with growing panic as the Jupiter system transformed before his eyes. How many of them are there? He whispered. Sir, I'm counting over 200 installations just in the Jupiter system alone, his science officer reported. And that's not including the mobile units. They've been living out there for decades. Lieutenant Rachel Stone piloted her fighter squadron from what the aliens had assumed was empty space between Mars and Jupiter. Her ships had been drifting in formation for 12 years, their crews rotating through hibernation while waiting for this moment. Now, engines that had been cold for over a decade roared to life. Ghost Wing 7 to all units, she transmitted. We are weapons free. Show these invaders what human engineering can do. Her squadron accelerated past what Krellian sensors thought was possible for ships of their size. They had been designed specifically to counter alien technology, incorporating improvements learned from 40 years of intercepted communications and captured probe data. Professor David Kane stood in the observation deck of Titan Research Station, watching as humanity's greatest secret finally revealed itself. For 50 years, his people had been developing technology in secret, using resources from across the solar system, while maintaining the illusion that Earth was humanity's only home. Begin broadcast of the declaration. He ordered his communications team. It's time the galaxy learned the truth about human expansion. His voice, amplified by transmitters throughout the solar system, reached not just the Krellian fleet, but every listening post within 50 light-years. To all galactic civilizations, monitoring this system, you have been deceived. Humanity did not retreat to a single world. We expanded. We adapted. We prepared. For 40 years we have been your neighbors, watching from the shadows while you believed us confined to Earth. The message continued as more human installations revealed themselves. Saturn's rings erupted with mining platforms that had been indistinguishable from ice particles. Uranus and Neptune suddenly showed orbital habitats that had been perfectly camouflaged against their atmospheric patterns. Commander Kresh Valdun tried desperately to regain contact with his invasion force. The humans on Earth continued their bizarre behavior, acting as if the landing was routine. Now he understood why. This wasn't their first contact with aliens. This was a scheduled event. "All ground units, immediate extraction," he ordered. "This entire operation has been compromised." But as his shuttles lifted off from Earth's surface, they found the sky no longer empty. Orbital platforms that had seemed like space debris now bristled with defensive weapons. Satellites that had appeared dead tracked their movement with predatory precision. Captain Lisa Hunt commanded the massive space station Abraham Lincoln, hidden in Earth's L4 Lagrange point for 38 years. Her facility housed 10,000 personnel and served as the coordination center for humanity's solar system defense network. "All stations report ready," she announced. "Krelian fleet, you are now surrounded by over 3,000 human installations, 1,200 mobile platforms, and 46,000 armed vessels. Our silence was not weakness. It was patience." Admiral Vora stared at his displays in disbelief. Every direction showed human contacts, ships emerging from gas giant atmospheres where they had been hiding for decades, bases revealing themselves on moons thought to be barren rock, mining operations in asteroid fields that scanners had dismissed as natural formations. "This is impossible," he muttered. "No species could hide an entire civilization." "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a transmission from the asteroid belt. It's massive, sir. The signal is coming from something huge." The transmission resolved into the image of a human male in his 60s, standing in what appeared to be the command center of a vast installation. "Admiral Voris, I am Director James Webb of Ceres Central Command. What you're seeing is the result of 4 decades of human expansion and preparation. We've been out here the entire time, building, growing, waiting." Behind him, windows showed the interior of a massive space habitat built inside the dwarf planet Ceres. Millions of humans lived and worked in a city that existed in the heart of what aliens had thought was an empty rock. "You came here expecting to find a primitive world," Webb continued. "Instead, you've discovered that humanity has quietly become a solar system-spanning civilization. Every moon, every asteroid, every gas giant in this system now serves as a human stronghold." The revelation continued as more installations came online. Oort cloud stations that had been monitoring galactic traffic for decades. Deep space telescopes that had been tracking alien movements throughout the galaxy. Communication relays that had been intercepting and decoding alien transmissions for generations. Admiral Voris realized with growing horror that his surprise invasion had been expected, planned for and prepared against for longer than some of his crew had been alive. "Sir," his tactical officer whispered, "we're not just outnumbered. We're completely surrounded. They've turned their entire solar system into a fortress, and we flew right into the center of it." The sky around Earth no longer belonged to the void. It spoke human from every direction, in voices that had been waiting decades to be heard. General Victoria Cross had waited her entire life for this moment. Born aboard the generation ship New Horizon during its 50-year journey to the outer solar system, she had grown up knowing that someday the sky would need to speak with humanity's full voice. That day had finally arrived. "All deep space commanders, this is General Cross aboard Command Station Alpha." She broadcast from her position beyond Pluto's orbit. "Execute final revelation protocol. Show them what humanity has really accomplished." Throughout the solar system, the last of humanity's secrets began to unveil themselves. What the Krelians had thought was empty space between worlds suddenly erupted with massive installations that had been perfectly camouflaged for decades. Pilot Marcus Vale led a fleet of ships emerging from behind the sun itself, where they had used solar energy collectors to remain hidden while harvesting the star's power. His vessels represented technology that had been developed in secret solar laboratories, powered by fusion reactors that drew directly from stellar radiation. "Solar, squadron to all units," he transmitted. "We have been the sun's children for 30 years. Time to show these invaders the fire we've learned to wield." Admiral Voris watched in stunned silence as ships emerged from directions he had thought impossible. behind the sun, within the coronas of gas giants, even from within the solar wind itself. Humanity had not just colonized space, they had learned to live within phenomena that other species considered uninhabitable. "Sir," his science officer's voice cracked with disbelief. "They're everywhere. Behind every planet, inside every stellar phenomenon, throughout every region we scanned as empty. How did we miss them?" "Because we weren't looking for impossible things," Forrest whispered. The impossible became routine as more human installations revealed themselves. Plasma research stations that had been living inside solar flares. Deep space habitats that had been drifting in interstellar space for decades. Mobile cities that had been masquerading as asteroids while slowly moving throughout the system. Captain Lisa Hunt coordinated the systematic revelation from her command center. Phase 4 complete. All outer system installations are now broadcasting. Admiral Voris, you are now witnessing the true extent of human civilization. The Krellian Admiral's display showed a solar system transformed. Every direction revealed human presence. Space was no longer void. It was a vast network of human habitation, industry, and defense. Commander Blake Morrison activated the final surprise. "Admiral, meet the real human space fleet." From locations throughout the system, ships began to emerge that defied everything the Krellians thought they knew about human technology. Vessels the size of space stations, powered by technologies that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Generation, ships that housed entire cities. Mobile habitats that contained populations larger than some planets. Dr. Sarah Moon, speaking from a research station hidden in the Kuiper Belt, addressed the alien fleet directly. "Admiral Voris, what you're seeing is the result of humanity's greatest achievement. We didn't just survive in space, we evolved to thrive here. Earth was never our limit, it was our launching point." The revelation continued as humanity's true spaceborne population revealed itself. Millions of humans who had been born in space, raised in zero gravity, adapted to life among the stars. They had developed technologies that Earth-bound scientists could only dream of, powered by resources harvested from across the solar system. Lieutenant Rachel Stone's fighter squadron demonstrated capabilities that shocked the alien observers. Her ships moved through space with an agility that seemed to ignore inertia, powered by engines that drew energy from the cosmic background radiation itself. "These aren't the humans you expected, are they?" she transmitted to the Krellian fleet. "We've been out here so long, we've become something new, something that belongs to the stars themselves." Admiral Voris finally understood the magnitude of his mistake. This wasn't an invasion of a primitive world. This was a trap. "Not a trap," General Cross corrected from her Deep Space Command station. "A test. We've been monitoring your empire's expansion for 50 years. We knew you would come eventually. We wanted to see what kind of species you really were." The Krellian Admiral felt the weight of that revelation. "You've been watching us. Watching, learning, preparing. Your empire has conquered 42 worlds, Admiral. But you've never faced a species that had time to prepare for your arrival. You've never invaded a solar system that had become a fortress." Professor David Kane's voice joined the conversation from Titan Station. "Every transmission you've ever sent, we've intercepted. Every battle you've fought, we've studied. Every weakness in your technology, we've cataloged. You taught us how to defeat you, Admiral Voris." The sky around the Krellian fleet no longer showed empty space. Every direction revealed human presence. Ships, stations, habitats, cities. The void itself had become humanity's domain, and it spoke with millions of human voices broadcasting in perfect coordination. Director James Webb from Ceres Command delivered the final message. "Admiral, you came here believing you would find a silent world ready for conquest. Instead, you've discovered that humanity's silence was the calm before the storm. The sky has found its voice, and it speaks human." The Krellian fleet found itself surrounded not by empty space, but by a living, breathing extension of human civilization that spanned from the sun to the edges of the solar system. They had invaded not a world, but an entire stellar civilization that had been waiting decades for this conversation. The Sky Speaks human Admiral Jack Sterling had been waiting in the darkness between star systems for 27 years. His flagship, the Eternal Vigil, commanded a fleet of deep space vessels that existed beyond the solar system's edge, monitoring galactic traffic and preparing for the day when Earth would need to speak to the cosmos with one unified voice. All outer perimeter units, this is Admiral Sterling, he broadcast on channels that reached across light years. Humanity's moment has arrived. Begin Galactic Broadcast Protocol. Throughout nearby star systems, installations that had appeared to be natural phenomena suddenly revealed their true nature. Artificial structures built inside nebulae, research stations hidden within the hearts of dead stars, and communication arrays that had been masquerading as cosmic background radiation for decades. Dr. Sarah Moon stood before the most powerful transmission array humanity had ever constructed, built over 30 years within the Kuiper Belt, and powered by exotic matter harvested from the edges of space itself. This moment would mark humanity's true emergence as a galactic civilization. "Citizens of the galaxy," she began, her voice amplified by transmitters that spanned multiple solar systems. "For 50 years, you have believed humanity to be confined to a single world. Today, that illusion ends." Her transmission reached every monitoring station within 100 light years, broadcasting on frequencies that would be impossible to ignore or block. The message carried the voices of millions of humans from across the solar system, speaking in perfect harmony. Admiral Voras sat in stunned silence aboard his flagship as the full scope of his miscalculation became clear. The tactical display now showed human presence extending far beyond the solar system itself. Deep space monitoring stations, asteroid, mining operations in neighboring systems, and exploration vessels that had been surveying galactic civilization for generations. "Admiral," his communications officer whispered, "we're detecting human installations in 17 nearby star systems. How long have they been out there?" "Long enough to prepare for this conversation," came a new voice. Commander Ryan Fox materialized on the main display, speaking from what appeared to be a massive space station built inside an artificial construct larger than most moons. Behind him, the view showed a bustling metropolis in space, with millions of inhabitants going about their daily lives. "Admiral Voras, I'm transmitting from New Geneva Station, located in the Alpha Centauri system. We've been your neighbors for 43 years, watching and learning while you believed yourselves alone in this region of space." The revelation continued as more human colonies throughout nearby systems revealed themselves. Terraforming operations on distant worlds, research installations studying galactic phenomena, and diplomatic outposts that had been monitoring alien civilizations for decades. General Victoria Cross coordinated the final demonstration of humanity's true reach. "Admiral, what you're witnessing is the birth announcement of humanity's galactic civilization. We didn't retreat into silence. We used that silence to spread among the stars." Every human installation throughout multiple star systems began broadcasting simultaneously, their voices combining into a chorus that filled the electromagnetic spectrum with human language, music, mathematics, and poetry. The cosmos itself became humanity's speaking voice. Dr. Sarah Moon continued her galactic address. "To all civilizations receiving this transmission, humanity claims its place among the stars not through conquest, but through expansion, adaptation, and preparation. We have been your silent neighbors, studying your cultures, learning your languages, and preparing for peaceful coexistence." Lieutenant Rachel Stone led her squadron in a demonstration that showcased humanity's true technological capabilities. Her ships moved through space using propulsion systems that seemed to manipulate gravity itself, powered by energy sources that drew from the quantum foam of space-time. "This is what happens when a species has time to prepare," she transmitted to the alien fleet. "We didn't just survive in space, we mastered it." The Krellian fleet found itself at the center of a revelation that spanned light years. Human installations revealed themselves from directions that should have contained only empty void. Communication arrays that had been monitoring galactic civilizations for decades began broadcasting humanity's true story. Admiral Sterling's Deep Space Fleet emerged from the darkness beyond the heliopause, ships that had been exploring the galaxy while maintaining perfect stealth. Admiral Voras, your empire has been under human observation for 37 years. We know your history, your technology, your weaknesses, and your intentions. The alien admiral finally found his voice. What do you want from us? Nothing, came the coordinated response from human installations throughout the galaxy. We want you to understand that Earth's silence was never surrender. It was humanity holding its breath before announcing our presence to the cosmos. Commander, Ryan Fox delivered the final message. The sky speaks human now, Admiral. From Earth to Alpha Centauri, from the asteroid belts to the edge of known space, human voices fill the void. We are no longer a single-world species. We are a galactic civilization that chose patience over panic, preparation over confrontation. Dr. Sarah Moon concluded the historic broadcast. To the Krelian Dominion and all listening civilizations, humanity extends an invitation to peaceful coexistence. We have proven we cannot be conquered by surprise or overwhelming force. Now let us prove that intelligence and cooperation serve the galaxy better than domination. The transmission ended, but its effects rippled across space at light speed. Every monitoring station, every alien vessel, every galactic civilization within range had heard the same message. Humanity had emerged from its silence, not as a conquered species, but as a galactic power that had been preparing for this moment for half a century.